Before this video starts, I'd just like to make an announcement. I have the Liberal Tears mug for $14.99 on my website. It is the first link in the description if you want to go pick one up. Don't worry if it breaks when it comes to your house. I'll send you another one for free out of my pocket. I don't care. I want you to get your Liberal Tear mug. It comes in Liberal Tears white with the face, black with the face, white without the face, and black without the face. So pick whichever one you want, and it'll come to your door in about 3 to 5 days. So that should be epic. First link in the description. Thank you. Let's go on with the video.
That society has an interest in is a heterosexual marriage that produces children. I think that's the best kind of relationship for the generation and upbringing of children. That said, I think government should completely stay out of all this crap. And the reason I say that is because, one, the government sucks at everything. Right? The government has been terrible at forwarding the institution of marriage, clearly. Since back in 1960, 20% of blacks were having children out of wedlock. Now it is 70% of all black children are born out of wedlock. In the white community, it was 5% in 1960. Today it's 40%. Right? And that's in an era where the government was supposedly forwarding traditional marriage. So they suck at it. So that's number one. And number two, once same-sex marriage becomes enshrined at the state level, the state will be used as a cudgel to wield against religious individuals. Right? I'm of the view that I get to, in my business and in my life, I get to deal with and serve the people that I wish to serve. And as a religious person, if I don't wish to take part in something that I personally consider a sin, that's none of your business, just as it's not my business if what I consider to be a sin, you don't consider to be a sin, and you want to do what you want. Right? So I'm very libertarian on this particular issue. I think that the right is moving in that direction, by the way. You know, conservative states like Alabama have actually taken measures to disinstitutionalize it, to get rid of state-sponsored marriage altogether because they're afraid of what's coming next. And I think that's the direction in which things are going to move. And I think that social institutions then have to teach people, you should get married, you should have kids. You know, the social institutions failed and then the government failed. And I think we need to rebuild social institutions. De Tocqueville wrote, in large measure, about how the United States was unique in that we actually had this grand non-governmental social system which allowed us to have a social framework within which we all work. And when the government took over for that, then it made the country that much poorer. It made our social ties completely frayed. So that's my view of same-sex marriage.
Your time. Thank you for coming here. I disagree with a lot of what you said tonight.
Good. That makes it fun.
I don't believe that being transgender means that you have some sort of mental illness.
Okay.
And I think that the majority of the psychological, national associations would agree with that. And I think that there's a lot of evidence that institutional racism exists, and that it manifests itself in very real and negative and harmful ways.
Okay.
But I don't feel any violence or animosity towards you, and I would say that most of the people that I know might wish that you wouldn't spread ideas. They might wish that you wouldn't spread ideas that they find harmful and negative, but they don't feel any direct ill will towards you in any violent way that they would carry out. So I guess what I've been feeling throughout this talk is kind of this vast mischaracterization of the left as some sort of homogenous, violent, oppressive body. And I think that the majority of the people that I know and the majority of the interactions that I've had with communities on a larger scale have not matched that representation. So I was wondering if you could kind of talk a little bit about the nonviolence.
So there are two aspects to the nonviolence, okay? And I think one you will agree with and one you will disagree with. So the one that you will agree with is the one that you've already agreed with, which is that you don't get to hurt people just because of what they're saying, right? This we all agree with. This is also the distinction. There's a reason I use the word leftist and not the word liberal. I think there is a distinction between people who are liberals and people who are leftists. I think that people who are liberals may disagree with me on politics, but they don't feel that they get to use force to shut people down. Leftists don't feel the same way. So that is an actual distinction. Now, here's the part where we'll disagree. I think that if you are seeking to use the government to cram down your particular vision of society on individuals in violation of their freedom, that this is an aspect of totalitarianism. Whether you want to shut me down or whether you want to, let's pretend for a second that I were a baker. And let's say that I'm a religious baker. I'm a religious person, so let's say I were a baker. And let's say that I don't want to participate in a same-sex wedding because I feel that that's sinful in my own religious belief. My belief is that's none of your business. The belief of most people on the left is that there should be legislation that forces me to cater to that same-sex wedding by polls. This is true. So, Now we're getting into dicey territory, because now this does implicate violence. It implicates governmentally used violence. So, you can be, I'm happy you're libertarian, essentially, with regard to my speech. But when it comes to my behavior, you're significantly less libertarian than I am. You can do what you want. I don't care. But people on the left deeply care what I do in my personal life, that they have no right to my labor and they have no right to my services. So this is where the pedal hits the metal in terms of American politics, and this is where the pedal will hit the metal when the government starts getting more and more deeply involved. As far as the institutional racism, all I would ask you to consider, you can believe what you want, but I would ask you to consider this. Shouting institutional racism does not actually combat racism. You have to find individual instances, and you have to show me who the racists are so that we can fight them together. I hate racism. I think it's evil. But if you're just going to say institutional racism every time something bad happens, there's no way to fight it. I need a policy that you're proposing, or I need a person who's actually racist so that we can fight it together, or we can determine whether the policy is good. What I find really problematic is the virtue signaling that I see by so many people on the other side, which is, I don't have to give you the racist, I don't have to tell you who he is or what measures I'm proposing. I just say institutional racism, everybody cheers for me because that's an approved point of view, and now we move on with our lives. You haven't helped anybody, you've just made yourself feel better. If you want to, have her respond, please.
Well, I think that institutional racism in and of itself, first of all, I would say that the majority of the people that do bring up institutional racism do also have solutions as to how to combat it. But I think that
it involve encroaching on other people's liberty. But yes.
Well, I would just say that there is kind of, again, I feel like you're painting a wide and diverse group of people with the same brush and saying that if you can't point to a policy or if you can't point to a person, then you're just wasting everyone's time. And I think that a lot of people are trying to point to policies, and while I think that the idea of pointing to a racist person is fundamentally in contrast with the idea of institutional racism, because institutional racism grapples with implicit bias in the society as a whole, or not like a ghost in the machine, but in individuals.
Unless you're connecting that to a policy, it's a cop-out. Because now we're ghost hunting again. If you just said to me, we have a problem in American society, income inequality, right, is a problem in American society. If you just gave me any problem, and I said, well, that's the Bilderbergs' fault, right? That's the fault of the Bilderbergs, right? It's a conspiracy, it's the fault of the Bilderbergs, right? There are all these conspiracy theories about the Bilderberg group. So let's say that it's the Bilderbergs' fault, or it's the protocols of the elders of Zion. It's whatever it is, there's some conspiracy out there. You would say to me, that's not useful because what are you even talking about? When you say institutional racism, it's too broad. You at least have to name me the institution. Which one is the racist one? Which institution is racist? Tell me which, so we can fight it, seriously, so we can fight it together. Just shouting slogans like institutional racism it's not effective. Shouting white privilege is not effective. I want to be on your side. I do. I want to fight racists. I think racism is, racist behavior is evil. I want to fight it with you, but I can't fight it if you're not showing me what it is. And we have to decide together if the policies you're proposing will alleviate racism or exacerbate racism. And it turns out, I think that a lot of the policies proposed by the left, I think institutional racism is usually a lever for proposing a policy that is actually unpalatable to freedom, and then castigating people on the other side of that policy as being in league with the institutional racism. The policies are good or bad without regard to words like institutional racism, is what I'm saying. Honestly, I would love to sit down and talk with you for an hour about it because it's a worthwhile conversation, and I think we could actually get somewhere with it. But I think that slogans generally tend not to be particularly effective in getting us to solutions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Rob Dew here reporting for Infowars.com. We've been shooting the Trump protesters. They've been marching, but now pro-Trump people are joining in, and they have Trump will secure the border, veterans for Trump. So it's interesting how I guess they're trying to co-opt the march that's going on. You can see these are the Trump people going in to the event that's about to take place, and then these guys started marching about 20 minutes ago. So A lot of these kids are young, high school. Talk to some high school kids, talk to some college kids, and then there's some older adults, some like. So Trump's a racist seems to be the main thing they keep preaching. It's interesting. These guys are carrying a "Come and Take It" flag, and they're the Anybody But Trump party. And I asked them about the Second Amendment, and they're like, "This flag can mean a lot of things." Well, it actually, literally means they put that up to the Mexican soldiers and said, "Come take our cannon." so it just shows how little history these guys know. And now the Black Lives Matter chants have started. They were doing All Lives Matter, and then they switched to Black Lives Matter at one point. So there's still people back behind the barrier. The protesters have definitely grown. I'd say they probably doubled in size from earlier, and Trump has not shown up yet, to my knowledge. I think he'll come through the back way. I don't think he's going to come this front way. So anyway, everybody's getting access to the porta potties, though. So you still see the protesters by the sign. They hate the billionaires, don't know about Soros. Here they come. Just a smattering of what's been going on most of the day. But the march has grown. More people are joining it. And it looks like some people are coming down. More people are joining this as we speak. It's getting bigger and bigger. But there you get it. So that's just a quick clip of what's coming up tonight. And here we go.
You would be an excellent pilot with the way you handle that airplane.
Anyway, diverse crowd. Are you joining the protest?
Yeah, I'm with the Veterans for Trump protest.
All right.
And anything to get rid of Paul Ryan, our most hated congressman here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, hopefully they say there's a plan to do that.
Oh, yeah, well, we don't know how to do that since the voting system is so corrupt.
Right.
We think the electronic machines get their wires crossed, and they're worried about our...
I'm sure that's all by accident, too.
Yeah, that's by accident. If the vote's running in the wrong direction, they just twist them, I think.
That's how they keep us controlled.
Yeah, that's how. That and dropping bombs on us so they can protect us.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, thanks for talking to me. Have a good one. All right, so yeah, some Veterans for Trump have joined the...
Hey, I have a story for you, InfoWars. I need to
oh, yeah? What do you got?
I should be inside the Trump rally right now, and I'm not. You just talked to me earlier.
They kicked you out.
And what does my sign say? Love Trump's hate. They kicked me out. I went up there peacefully. I have a ticket to this event. They kicked me out on the grounds that it's a private event and it's private property, and I got kicked off. They're racially profiling people at the door. I watched a group of people get kicked out behind me who were wearing nothing. They had no signs, nothing. They were racially selected and profiled and removed off the property.
Well, I saw a couple black people go into the event, if that's what you're referring to, but they did kick out a girl with face paint on that said no hate.
They kicked out a young couple is what I'm referring. I think that they are age discriminating, to be honest with you, but the thing is freedom is not free when you can't walk into an election. Like, you can't walk into it. Sorry, it's so busy out here. Freedom's not free when you can't walk in and listen to a presidential candidate speak, even in peace. I came here with no Bernie stuff. I was not bringing this sign in. I was very aware of the fact that I was just going to go and peacefully listen to him talk. They removed me from the property and laughed in my face and are handpicking whoever gets to go inside. How free is our country when you can't even listen to a candidate speak? I just need to know that.
Well, I think what's going on is there have been so many events disrupted that they're preemptively selecting people who they think are going to cause trouble. And I'm not saying you're going to cause trouble.
That's true, but
because people blame Trump for when violence happens at his events. They say it's Trump's fault. But Trump didn't tell people to show up and start stuff at his events.
Right, but those people that showed up that quote-unquote started stuff were not doing anything either. They were standing there in peace, and then the Trump's people agitated them, right? That's what happened. So, I mean, I just need to stress, like, this cannot be considered an event that's actually being run on a level of fairness or equality, which is the whole reason I was here today, was to see that, was to challenge that, was to question that. And the fact that I couldn't even get into the rally and I'm not even doing anything wrong speaks volumes. Just speaks volumes. I think that people need to know that their rights are being stripped away.
I'm about to upload this video, so they're going to know.
Thank you very much.
All right, have a good one.
Thanks, InfoWars.
So there you go, kicked out of a private event for, I guess, not following the rules that they set up, which I think is their right. So anyway, I'm going to cut this off and upload it. But that's just a small smattering of what's been going on today, but the protests have intensified. Rob Dew for Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.tv.
Hello everyone! Hey, I'm just stopping by to remind you that liberals are insane! Social justice warriors are becoming